We get a lot of questions on our videos about what is the best board, the size, the shape. We're gonna work our way from beginner and intermediate boards to more advanced boards. Hi folks, phones are going off the hook here at XL Skimboards. People are calling all about the type of boards that they want to ride, and we get a lot of questions on our videos about what is the best board, the size, the shape, dimensions. Today we're going to go over how to pick out the skimboard for your size and weight, and we're also going to go through shapes, rail thickness, a lot of different things too. We're going to work our way from beginner and intermediate boards to more advanced boards. But first, I'm going to explain how to pick out the right size skimboard for you. First thing that we are going to want to know is your height and weight. I have a good rule of thumb for what size board you want for your height. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is, I told you the phones were going off the hook, man. Look at, people are calling, they're asking, what is the best board for you? And the best way to pick out the right size board for you, and what I've been told since I was a little grommet by Bill Bryan, was that you want a board that goes up to your sternum, which is right about here on me. Also kind of around the nipple line. The nipple line is also a really good determination of what size board you want. So, for example, this board is, we're gonna exclude the shape of it. We're not worried about the shape, but this board would be a good size board for me to ride because it goes about perfectly up to my sternum / nipple line. This is your first thing you're going to want to look into. Whether you're 3 feet tall or 6 foot tall, if you're 6'5", you might got some more dust in my throat. If you're 6'5", you might be a little too tall to skimboard. Sorry for you guys. But I'm 6 foot tall, and this is going to be a medium-sized board. So a medium-sized board works perfectly for my size and height and weight and all that. Now we're going to go into different shapes you can look at and different materials, which is going to vary the price range of the board. So run you over here. Okay, so we apologize for some of the noise. We got some workers in the back are sanding some boards / polishing them, so we got some polishers in the back, but look at how polished these things are. Just take a look at those. Just beautiful. First boards that we're gonna introduce you to are the more entry-level skimboards. They are cheaper and they are the best boards for learning. So these are called the EXOs. So the original shape is this guy. And as you can tell, the tail is just rounded, and this is kind of your more typical skimboard shape. Really good for learning. This board right here would be for a much smaller person than myself, because it only goes up to about my belly button. So, some kid who's probably about 9 or 11 would ride this puppy. But they have these boards in different sizes as well. So this board is also a little bit too small for me, but it's getting closer to the size that I would want for myself. So yeah, this is the EXO. This is the best board for learning how to skimboard on. A lot of people ask us about wooden boards and if they work for learning. And what I like to tell people is that they're great for sliding on the sand and great for learning how to drop your board and get that initial feeling or sensation of sliding on wet sand. But as soon as you want to start going out into the water and riding waves, you're going to need a better board than that. The thin wooden boards are also kind of dangerous just because the rails are so hard and they're so thin that if they hit you, they really hurt. It's kind of the same with any skimboard. So if you're learning on a wooden board, I recommend learning on a beach where there's wet sand on a flat beach and you're not going out into the waves. Because if you lose your wooden board into a wave and it comes back and hits you in the leg, you're going to be really bummed out. And like I said, a lot of skimboards, you'll be bummed out if you lose them and they come back and hit you. But wooden boards, it'll be really painful. So because we've been getting so many questions about these entry-level skimboards and what I recommend for learning how to skimboard, we are going to start carrying these on our site. So we'll have these up on the skidkids.tv website soon, as well as this board here. It's a new shape that they're carrying in the EXO, so it's also one of your more entry-level boards. It's made out of the same materials as these, and it's also at a price range that's more affordable for your average person who's just getting into the sport. And this is kind of a cool shape because it's a little wider, and you can tell that there's more width in the tail and the nose on this board, and that width will be better for bigger people and for, you know, people like myself who's maybe 6 foot tall or something, who needs a little bit more float and they're just getting into the sport. So this will help you get that initial glide out into the water that's gonna help you get out to waves and start catching waves. So this width is really good for learning in conditions like, say, the East Coast, where waves are a little smaller and you're gonna need that extra reach to get out to a good skimboarding wave. So this is the Dude Cruise shape of the EXO. We'll get into the Dude Cruise shape in a little bit too. Now, before I get into kind of the more high performance / pro boards that Exile makes, I'm gonna talk about this kind of mid-range price board, which is somewhere in between your entry-level and advanced skimboarder. The second board that I'm gonna be talking about is kind of the board that falls in between your really entry-level skimboards and your really pro-level carbon fiber boards. So this is the EX2. What makes this different than a carbon fiber board is it's just fiberglass and polyester resin. Basically what that means is that it's not as stiff as a carbon board, and it might not hold up as well in, you know, if you drop it on the ground or throw it into a rock or something like that. So it's a really good board in that it has the shape and everything of a pro board, but the materials are less expensive, so it just might not be as durable. It also might have a little bit more flex to it, which, yeah, you can tell there's a little flex to it. But this thing's still gonna work really well. This board's a good board, and it's different from your entry-level skimboards because it has a little bit of a sharper rail also, and it has the perfect hybrid shape that Exile designed, and it's a better shape for intermediate level riders because you're going to be able to do turns on it and you're going to be able to turn faster. So that's the EX2. Now I'm going to talk briefly about the carbon fiber boards that I ride and that the best skimboarders in the world ride. And what makes these boards stand out from every other board is that carbon fiber is super stiff when you put epoxy on it. So it doesn't bend as much. There's little to no flex, which is really good when you're skimboarding because it helps you carry your speed, and it also helps you really do turns off of the bottom of a wave. So if there's any give in a board, it's hard to keep your line when you're driving, when you're just dependent on your rail of your skimboard. So with these carbon fiber boards and with pretty much any skimboard in Exile, you can order them with your preference in shape and obviously size. But right now I'm going to go over the different shapes that you can do. So this shape right here is a hybrid shape. A hybrid shape has some width in the tail right here, and it also has some width in the nose. So this shape is going to be a wider all-around board than the pro shape right here. So that is a pro shape board, and it is actually longer and a little bit narrower. So I don't know if you can really tell, but this board is narrower in the rails and also narrower in the tail. This board is a tad bit fatter in the nose and a tad bit fatter in the tail. That's the difference between the hybrid and pro shape boards. Really just a personal preference of what feels good below your feet. For me, I used to like riding a hybrid board until I had some say in my own shape of a board, and then I made something else. But really personal preference between these two shapes. This is kind of like your last skimboard style shape. So we got the hybrid, we have the pro shape, and now we have this hornet shape. And the difference about the Hornet shape, you can barely tell, but it's narrower in the tail. I wouldn't say you can barely tell, because when you're riding it, it makes a big difference in how responsive your wrap is or how responsive your front side turn is. So on a hybrid board, it has a wider tail, which is good for helping you get out to hard to reach waves. And it still turns really well, but this Hornet shape with a really narrow tail helps with getting around the wave really quick and also with holding a line. So that's the Hornet shape. Last but not least, we have the Dude Cruise shape, which is really a chunker. This is a very wide board all around, really wide in the tail, and it has these kind of cool looking wings on it. And it also has a little bit of like a fish / swallowtail look. And then this is the shape that I designed with Exile, which is just kind of a swallow / fish shape. And it's also a little wider in the tail than any of these boards, but you have a little bit more control because when you're turning, you're really relying on this part of the board to turn, and you're always on rail. So you're either using this side to go right or you're using, this side to turn left. So this tail allows you to really lock into waves, and it still gives you the high performance feel of a narrower board like that, while it also gives you the advantage of having some float like a Dude Cruise here. So the Dude Cruise I love riding in smaller conditions and when the waves don't have as much power. So I think a lot of people on the East Coast like these boards for days when maybe the waves just aren't really offering the push that they do in California. And this board also allows you to get out to really hard to reach waves. Probably the best board I've ridden for making it out to really far out waves. John Weber used to ride this board when he rode for Exile Skimboards, and he was getting out to waves that were further out than any skimboard I've ever seen. The only drawback of the Dude Cruise is that the waves are big and they have some power, or you want that performance feel of a skimboard. It's a little harder to turn, it's a little harder, it's just less responsive. I just walked you through the more advanced professional style skimboards, kind of your Ferrari of skimboards, which I didn't get into too much detail on, and there's a whole lot more that you can look into, which such as thickness of rail. What I want to focus on more is those people that are trying to get into the sport and the people that are looking for a good entry-level skimboard. And what I'm going to reiterate is that these boards are what I recommend. I don't advise people to start learning on a wooden board, because if you're trying to go out into the water at all, it's very difficult on a wooden board with how thin they are and with how small they are. That's what's nice about these, is that these boards are fiberglass and they're lighter than your wooden board. They are easier to hold for a lot of people, and they're also easy to drop. And if you have more questions on sizing and whatnot, feel free to reach out to us, and if you want to check these out, we are going to be carrying them on our site. So please feel free to ask us questions about sizing, what's going to work best for you. But just remember that you want a board that's up to about your nipple height, sternum height, and we'll dial you in with other details that on boards that'll work great for you. For some of our other videos, you can check them out on this side over here. If you would like to look into subscribing to our channel, you can check it out over here. And if you are interested in buying an entry-level skimboard or have some questions for us, check out our website below, and we are happy to help you there. Thank you guys. Oh yeah, we're out of here.